Hello, everybody, and okay, welcome back to the channel. So today, according to the title, you can see it's about this situation where the government has now decided that based on the spikes in COVID-19, they are going to be considering, reconsidering, as they put it, the resumption schools. We all understood that at the beginning it was supposed to be like January 4th that schools will be resuming. But for some reasons, they decided they were going to shift it to January 18th, which at that very time, I mentioned it, this thing is not going to be the way people thought it would be. Like, I was very, very sure of it. I said it back then that this same government that kept on increasing the time we had to lock down last year, you cannot trust them not to increase this thing again this year. Because back then in December last year, they said, okay, because of the spikes in COVID-19, we're going to increase the thing till January 18th. That's basically what they said then. And it made sense to a whole lot of people. Okay, no problem. It's still January 18th. At least people are going to resume, because when you hold people down for so long, it's going to get to a stage where even if you give them just a crumb of bread, they are going to be satisfied with it. If you have kept people hungry enough, very tiny food is going to mean a whole lot of food to them. So that's basically how it is. So now, after locking us down for so long, now allowing people, for example, doing WAEC and all of those things just to come back, write the exams, just do a couple of things felt like a relief. It felt like a big deal, you understand? So that was one thing, no problem. They had that, they got that out of us, no problem. Now, for the resumption of the universities, which of course, I know it's not about COVID-19 alone, it's also about ASU and the federal government. And we cannot just blame it on ASU alone. The federal government has a hand in it also, because the federal government has been holding these people so much for so long, and they have always been compromising with the federal government and compromising every single time, and then the federal government would fail on its mandate. So that's one thing that has always happened. So as much as it is a very bad thing for students, we also have to consider the fact that these lecturers and all these people in charge, they are facing a whole lot of problem too, and they are being duped. And then the emotions of the students are being used against them in order to prevent them from getting what they would want to get from the federal government, which the federal government has already promised in the first place. So this is a very, very complex situation. It's not as straightforward as some people like to put it, that okay, the ASU is just being completely just fighting for their own interest. Yes, of course, it's their own interest, but we also have to consider it that they are there in the schools because they want to better themselves also. So now, that aside, now that they have decided that there's not going to be, or at least there is it's very, very unlikely that we're going to have a resumption January 18th. What do we do from here? This thing has already ruined everybody's calendar, academic calendar, in the past 1 year. Imagine people that are supposed to graduate from the university back in 2020, and now they have not even completed first semester. It's mind-boggling. Some people have not even completed first semester. And now you keep shifting this thing. They should have finished last year. How are you going to deal with people who are going to be coming into the university from the secondary schools this year? Are you going to combine the two sets? What are you going to do about all these things? There is a whole lot of problem on ground, and these people are not even considering it objectively. I don't know what is wrong with our government, honestly. I simply don't know. I'm going to be giving you some of the things I've been able to diagnose from all these people. Now, doesn't mean that I'm completely right, but I believe the evidence is on my side when it comes to these issues, as I'm going to be explaining it as we go on. So now, you have to understand that young people are not vulnerable to this thing. Now, I'm not saying that young people can't get COVID-19. What I'm saying is that young people are so vulnerable to this thing, because let's even assume you as a young person who does not have any pre-existing condition. That is, you don't have obesity, that is unnecessarily obese. You are not unnecessarily obese or morbidly obese. You don't have diabetes. You don't have any serious or maybe heart issues. You don't have anything like that. You don't have respiratory issues. There is almost no world in which you are going to die from this thing. In fact, you are not even going to have a severe symptom of this thing. It has been confirmed even by different international organizations all around the world. Different studies have been carried out on these. Children don't get this thing in the tough cases. First, they don't get it easily. Then, even if they get it, It's not going to affect them severely, which means only mild symptoms. Maybe you even just have like the sniffles, you sneeze and all of this. That's all you're going to get from it. And even children are not transferring this thing to the adults, as adults are transferring it among themselves. So it is very, very limited how much effect this thing is going to have on children. It's extremely limited. I mean, just for perspective, let's look at this thing. You just going to work. For a young person, you going to work every single day, or you going to school every single day from your house is more dangerous than you being exposed to COVID-19. Honestly, that's the fact, because the risk that you're going to die in an auto crash, in a car accident, is far greater than the risk that you're going to die from COVID-19. Do we stop you from entering vehicles because of that? Do we stop you from boarding buses because of that? Do we stop you from going with bikes because of that? Nobody does that. Why doesn't everybody do that? Because we have somehow, for some reasons, understood that there are some risks to life. There is risk in every day you live. Every single day you step out of your house to move out, you are risking your life. You may not come back. This is not about some spiritual stuff we're talking about. We're talking about reality here. You may not come back every single time you step out of your house. You might just even want to go and buy something just across the street. You may not come back. It is a risk that you understand and you're factoring into your life, and you're considering that risk to be worth it for that reward that you're going out to get. That's basically what it is. Is education not worth a risk for you to go outside and earn it at this period? Is your education not worth it to even start with? Especially when you understand that it is more risky for you to be in public transport or even private transport, be on the road, whatsoever you want to call it, than dying from COVID-19. So all these things are like, it makes no sense. Now you always hear about listen to the science, respect the science. We believe in science and all those things like that. Science doesn't dictate that we should lock down schools. Even if you're going to lock down anything, not schools, for God's sake, where you have the least vulnerable set of people in the population. That's where you're locking down, for God's sake. I mean, right from the beginning, everybody knew this. The people who are most vulnerable to this virus, they are the elderly. The elderly are the most vulnerable to this virus. I mean, the average age of people dying from this virus is from 80 and above. Now, are there some people who are younger than 80 dying from it? Sure. But most of the times it's because they have pre-existing conditions. I mean, people who don't have any pre-existing conditions, they don't have any comorbidity, and they die from this thing, they are extremely, extremely, extremely few. Extremely few, which means it's kind of like a complication of one of the issues you have in your body before that is actually killing you when you have COVID-19. That's basically how it is. So it's not as serious as people are taking it. And it's definitely not something we should lose our economy, we should lose our education, we should lose everything worthwhile while living in this world. It's not worth it losing all those things because of a virus that you have about 99.7% chances of surviving. And that is even including those people who have comorbidities, and even including those people who are old. The general survivability rate of COVID-19 is as high as that. And I'm not even talking about in Nigeria where we have lower cases here. Of course, you may say that the reason why we have lower cases is because we're not testing so much. But even in the United States, where they are testing a whole lot more, the CDC in the United States makes it clear that your death, the chances that you die from COVID-19 is just 0.3%. 0.3%. I mean, just think about that. It's extremely, extremely, extremely low. It's extremely low, which means you have these chances of surviving anytime you have COVID-19 about 99.7. 99.7. What other thing do you have survivability of 99.7 for? And people are still scared of doing such a thing. You are cooking in your kitchen, you can get yourself killed. You are using gas cooker. The chances of you dying from gas cooker is very high. Do we stop people from using gas cooker in the kitchen? Do you stop people from using fire in cooking? I mean, all these things, there are things in life that we have to come together and reason. There are things that we have to just apply common sense to it. It's not just about yelling and complaining about, oh, the NCDC, oh, about the rules and regulations, oh, masking and all of those things like that. These things make no sense. That's basically how I'm going to put it. Makes no sense. It makes absolutely, absolutely no sense. And one of the things that I see very obviously in this is that the Nigerian government is basically copying all these other developed countries. That's basically what they are doing. They are copying Europe, the European countries, especially Britain, that has been locking down so much. They're copying Britain, they're copying the United States, copying all these places that have a robust like social security system for their citizens, which means they are protecting the citizens at some levels, understand. Now, I'm not a very big fan of big government, but at least these people, they have a very solid infrastructure to protect their citizens, to help them through the lockdown to a large extent. Nigeria, we have basically nothing like that. Now, I'm not saying we don't have anything at all, but it is essentially nothing when you really compare the size of the social security we have in Nigeria to the size of the population we have in Nigeria. We are over 200 million, for God's sake. So that's basically what it is. It is unimaginably impossible for our government to take care of us if they really want us to go into lockdown. And then we talk about the students. Now we're having a whole lot of people still able to go to work. We have a whole lot of people still able to do whatever they want to do. But students, of all people to protect, students have to lose their education in the meantime until we figure out whatever crappy nonsense we are doing as a nation. So that's basically, so who are the people suffering the most? It's the students, the young ones. They are the ones suffering the most, even though they are almost not vulnerable to this thing. And they are most likely not going to give it to others. And I'm not just talking about 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. I'm not talking about anything lower than that. I'm talking about even those people in the tertiary institutions. Even those ones are not at a serious risk from this virus. So what are we talking about? So it's mind-boggling, like I've always been saying. It's very, very mind-boggling. And of course, the reason why I think that they are doing this, I have two classes of reasons. One is a very cynical reason, that is something about not trusting the government, because the government cannot be trusted. Politicians cannot be trusted. So, of course, the very first one among them is because they are just trying to accrue more power to themselves. Because when there is a crisis, it is easy for you to gain more power as the ruling individuals when there is a crisis. The government gets more power when there's a crisis, because things that you can't do when there is not a crisis, you can do it when you whip people up into a frenzy and they believe there's a crisis. Because, okay, we need to do this thing very urgently, because if we don't do it, the whole world is going to come to an end and people are going to surrender their freedoms. That's basically how it is. Compared to when everything is going and everybody is enjoying and everything is just all right. People are not going to surrender their freedoms very easily in such situations, but they are going to surrender if they think that the world is coming to an end. So that's how it is. And of course, there's another one, is that I've always been saying this since last year, that it's basically a CYA operation. Cover your butt operation. I don't want to use the word ass, okay? Cover your ass operation. That's basically what it is. They are trying to protect themselves from the oppositions in case there's any increase in number of deaths or anything like that. The opposition party, whether it's PDP, APC, whatever it may be, to the people ruling in that state, or as far as it may be, let's say in Nigeria now, those ones are going to attack them based on their performance with COVID-19. So it's one of the reasons why they are just trying to, okay, if I lock everything down, if I lock this down, lock that down, it's going to, like, and things to go bad despite all the lockdowns, it's going to be, okay, yes, I did my best, compared to, okay, you didn't do anything, you just left everything open. And that's why we have a bad situation right now. So that's one of the reasons why it's like that. That's one of the reasons why the government is being like extremely crazy at this moment. I mean, we all have to consider this. No Nigerian really cares about COVID-19 anymore at this point. There's no Nigerian that cares about it. Only those at the tippy top. Those are the only ones who tend to care about all these things. Right? Regular Nigerian who wants to just get his daily bread doesn't give a crap. Doesn't give one single crap about this nonsense. Everybody just wants to be left alone. Just leave Nigerians alone. Leave us alone. We'll deal with it alone. Okay, the COVID-19, blah, 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 blah. Leave them alone. They can deal with it, for God's sake, for crying out loud. You're only trying to mess things up a lot more than it should be, because of what you are doing right now. You are ruining people's life. You are spoiling people's schedule for the academics and everything like that. That's what you are doing. So you are doing more harm than good by trying to interfere on the behalf of Nigerians with all these things you are doing. And then the non-cynical aspect is that maybe, just maybe, the government is being so harsh about COVID-19 so that they will not be blacklisted by the international community. Because whether you like it or not, just a couple of months ago, I think was it in October, I was reading on the website of the United States Embassy, and they were talking about how Nigeria has been so lax with COVID-19 protocols and all those things like that. And they are warning their citizens, if you are going to be coming to Nigeria, be extra careful. They talked about the situation of insecurity in Nigeria. They talked about the way Nigeria has been handling COVID-19, that we have not been doing great enough, which means they are actually putting a mark on us, kind of like we are bad sheep or something like that for our country. So it's one of those things, and it's one of the things that the country over there, all those countries, United States, the European Union, all those other places out there, the developed world, it's one of the things that they do sometimes. And it might be one of the reasons why the government is being so serious about this thing, overly serious, more than the populace seems to care about this whole thing. It might be the reason they don't want to be blacklisted by the WHO, to be labeled as a country who's not serious about this thing, and then it's going to affect the economy in a particular way, because companies are not going to want to do business with Nigeria so much, because they will now be associated with a country that doesn't take COVID-19 cases serious, and then the media is going to attack them all around the world. So it's one of the reasons why they might be doing that. But again, it's neither here nor there. Those things are not mutually exclusive. They could be together. Those two reasons could be together. That's just basically it is what it is. I mean, a very good example of that is when you look at banks. Why do banks require you to wear mask every time you go there? I mean, most people who wear masks when they go into banks, they just wear it under their chin, and they still allow them to go in. Are you protecting anything if you're going to be sneezing in the banks while you are wearing a mask under your chin? It has no effect. Even if anybody's wearing over their nose, by the time they enter the bank, they just pull it off, and nobody complains. Just leave it under your chin, under your on your neck. Nobody cares. So it's basically performative. Everybody's just trying to, okay, yes, I'm in the game. Oh yes, I'm part of the people who are woke. I'm part of the people who are responsible. That's basically what they're trying to say. Nobody cares about it, because if anybody cares about it, the people in the bank would really wear it above their noses every single time, and they don't. And they don't. Even the bankers themselves, they don't wear it above their noses. They don't. They just wear it on the chin, wear it on the mouth, and they're still breathing conveniently in the air. So that's basically what it is. So it's basically because the banks don't want to be shut down by the federal government. That's the reason why they're doing it. They don't want to be shut down by the federal government. That's why they're doing all those things. Not that they really care about it. Talk about other institutions as well. Government institutions, non-government institutions. The reason why they require masks in most of those places is because they don't want to be ostracized by the government. That's basically what they don't want to be penalized by the government. That's how it is. So that's exactly the same way it is with Nigeria and in international community. They don't want to be ostracized by the international community, because if those ones say that they are not doing well enough with COVID-19, it becomes a problem. Then they are going to distance themselves from Nigeria. That's the reason. That's basically how it is. So now, where do we go from here? How do we deal with this situation? Honestly, I sincerely don't know. That's basically how it is. If you know the answer to that, honestly, I would really want to know your answer in the comment section down below, whether on YouTube, Facebook, wherever it is. What do we do about this? The students are suffering so much. They are suffering so much. It's almost a year since academic calendar, especially for those in universities. Since March last year. We are going towards, the middle of January now, and towards the end of January. We don't know when they are going to stop this thing. What if they come the next time the the Presidential Task Force (PTF) comes up and they're talking about, because there's another spike and all of this nonsense, then we have to increase the period again. We have to extend the lockdown again. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? At a particular point, it becomes hopeless for the students. And this is very, very unfair. That's basically what I'm going to be saying. Very, very unfair to Nigerians. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll be seeing you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please, please, please. It's really going to help the channel to grow. And on Facebook, like the video, please, and please, also like the platform. So Nigeria Unsealed on Facebook. Please like the page. Follow us on Instagram if you can also. Thank you very much. And I'll be seeing you guys next time. Bye.